Just system disruption that affected electricity supply in parts of the country. Also in this bulletin, authorities of the West African Examination Council vow zero tolerance of examination malpractice in this year's basic education certificate examination.
The list was a tall one. There were some that we apprehended. There were some also that may have been apprehended by the authorities of the Ghana Education.
I am Enyonam Haligah. Details of our headlines and other stories. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're going to a first story now where the Joint Task Force of the Ghana Armed Forces has resumed escort for residents in Boku following last week's deadly gun attack on its convoy. The attack on the convoy, which resulted in casualties, had temporarily disrupted the movement of civilians under military protection. On Thursday, the Joint Task Force carried out a coordinated escort operation from Boku to Tamale involving pilgrims from both sides of the long-standing conflict. Now we'll go on to our phone lines now and speak to my colleague Castro Sanada, who was with the team, and he'll bring us some details following the renewed efforts by the armed forces to escort some civilians in the residence in the Boku municipality. Castro, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. How effective is this strategy in helping the members of the community this afternoon?
I can hardly hear you, please.
Yes, Castro, I was asking, this new strategy in helping the residents in the communities, how effective is it going to be?
Right, so the military's convoy escorts have been in existence for, time memorial as far as the resurgence of the Boko conflict is concerned. And so it has been the most effective way through which they can get residents from Boko to, Bogatanga and other places as far as escorts are concerned. So it's the most effective way now, and that is the only way through which they can provide escorts for unarmed civilians who want to pass through these highways safely.
And what has the reaction been from the residents in the community?
Yeah, residents for a long time have been calling for enhanced escorts from the Bogatanga Boko Highway and then from the Bogatanga Tamale Walawale Highway as well. Their calls have always remained the same, which is for, the security agencies, by extension, the Ghana Armed Forces, to increase and make the highways safe for everyone else to travel. And so the resumption after last week's attack, clearly goes to say that the people are, happy and would want that the military continues and the escorts uninterrupted, so that people can move freely and also see how best they can secure the highways for them to travel safely without sometimes even escorts from the armed soldiers and all of that.
Thank you so much, Castro. And that was Castro Sanyala bringing us updates from the Boku community, where the Joint Task Force of the Ghana Armed Forces have resumed escorts in the Boku community. Now, away from that, tensions rising as frustration boils among members of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association. At the heart of the anger is the nearly 11-month unpaid second-tier pension contribution owned by the government. The commemoration this year, Midday, the Deputy Executive Secretary of ClockSAP, Kojo Krankeni, asked government to be swift to pay the arrears to prevent any industrial disharmony in the coming weeks.
If you look at what is happening even to our condition of service, it's taking us more than long years. Sure. So it is true, we can press harder, but they have passed legislations and disunified pensions. That is what is before you now. Let's look at it now. There is apartheid type regime of pensions. There is discrimination. And you saw what we said about it. Some people's calculations, the calculation of some of the pensions, they added even allowances to their basic salary before they used it to calculate. Others like us, they use their raw contributions, your raw basic salary. Sure. And it doesn't go home. It doesn't carry you far. You realize that already, we said it in the message, the salary that we are taking is low. It's about the lowest. It's tacked to the single span, it's low. The deductions that go in for investment will certainly be low.
That was the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, Kojo Krankeni, there. Now, away from that, President John Dramani Mahama has justified the no-fee stress policy as an equity-driven initiative aimed at removing financial burdens to higher education in public institutions, framing it as a constitutional obligation. The president has also cut short for the construction of a multi-purpose assembly hall and hostel block for the SDA College of Education at Asokore. The facility is expected to ease the accommodation challenges faced by students. Our Eastern Regional correspondent Yvonne Nikwe engaged some residents and students ahead of the sword-cutting ceremony.
Na Ghana for any nyame eye adoma yedi nkunim ewa abato no na echese sabon na ye share no na ye hwehwe bebi a ye beba beye ni abrofo friend launch of the no fee stress policy na SDA College of Education work of radio ha omo na eto nsa friend say yemra na omo bie kwan amaye say yembe ni ebe bia na ye launch no fee stress policy no ha nti afi etwa mu ye bai e ma dwumedie no ko so fefefe na ye say ofufu aton kwan mu ede na oso ye say ye ba ya ye be launch no fee stress policy a SDA College of Education principal oje ya wa tu no na che say o say ono so na this radio bebre ewo ho a ono so ebe betu yenim na wasre se yenye emano enti obusa nyoma bebre na ebire side media ye be no hanne aye multi-purpose hall and hostel.
Was President John Dramani Mahama. Now, a statement from the Action Alliance Party has expressed and extended its deepest appreciation to every Ghanaian worker. In a statement, the national chair of the Action Alliance Party, Nazir Darlington, however, said the government must reflect on many Ghanaian workers who are facing serious challenges, including the rising cost of living, high taxes that reduce the take-home pay and unemployment, and job insecurity. Now to some energy stories now, as the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Abdullahi Janapo, has announced the full restoration of all power generation units following a major system disruption that affected electricity supply in part of the country. In a Facebook post shared today, the minister said the national power system has now been stabilized after intensive repair and recovery efforts by a technical team. According to him, the engineers, technicians, and emergency response team worked around the clock under challenging conditions to restore the operations. Meanwhile, President John Dramani Mahama has thrown his support and commendation behind the Volta River Authority for its swiftness in responding to the fire outbreak at the Greco Power Station. The president says in the midst of the adversity, there's an urgent need to modernize the facility.
I told the minister I was coming here to see the work you had done. He's briefed me. You have 4 of the turbines back on, and he says that you're working another miracle and that I'll get good news soon with the remaining 2 turbines also coming back on. So I want to thank you very much for what you've done, and we encourage you to continue to work. VRA will continue to be one of the foremost state-owned enterprises, and Gridco and VRA, both of you, you are among the foremost twins of the same mother, Gridco and VRA, and we know that you continue to work, and every support government can give you will continue to give you.
Now we're taking you to Parliament, where the majority has defended the 15.6 billion cedis loss posted by the Bank of Ghana in 2025. Justifying that the intervention in the last year have helped reduce inflation, stabilize the cedi, and made the country more resilient despite Middle East tensions. Addressing journalists, a member of the Finance Committee and member of Parliament for Sagnerigu, Ataisa insisted the central bank deserves commendation rather than criticism for its recent achievements.
For the family paying school fees, electricity, and hospital costs, the stability is real. What lower inflation made possible? What made the lower inflation possible? The cost of 16.7 billion cost was incurred in 2025 through the Bank of Ghana open market operation, interest paid to absorb excess liquidity in the market. This led to inflation falling from 54.1% in 2022 to 3.2% in March this year. The monetary policy rate of government, that forms the basis of the Ghana reference rate and the interbank rate, fell from about 30%, that made cost of doing business so expensive, to about 14%. Lending rate has also fallen from about 35.6% in 2022 to 19.2% as at the end of 2025.
That was the Member of Parliament for Sagnarigu, who doubles as the member in the Finance Committee of Parliament, Atta Issa there. Meanwhile, the CEO for Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson, says the 15 billion losses is high and called for stability of the economy.
If the stability is resilient and can help us absorb the shocks that are ahead of us, the external shocks that are ahead of us. 15 billion is high, but the economy of Ghana needs help.
And that was the CEO for Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson there. Now to some other stories now, as Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has underscored the critical role of youth innovation in shaping Ghana's future at the launch of the Student Entrepreneurship and Enterprise Development Program at the University of Professional Studies, Accra. She emphasized that the Ghana's future depends on how effectively it supports its young people to innovate and create opportunities. There's more in the following report. Now we'll bring you that report in a subsequent bulletin, but moving on to some other stories now, as the head of public relations at the West African Examination Council, John Kapi, said authorities are ready to ensure transparency in the Basic Education Examination Council certificate as it cracks down on examination malpractice. More than 14 vigilators have been banned from supervising this year's exam starting on Monday, May 4. Let's take a listen.
In the Ghana Education Service, I felt that these were people who were not qualified to continue to invigilate the examinations that we conduct. In that case, they decided that they should not go anywhere near any of the examination centers in the course of this year's examination. The list was a tall one. There were some that we apprehended. There were some also that may have been apprehended by the authorities of the Ghana Education Service. So I would say that, yes, it was mainly because of their involvement in examination malpractices, and that was the reason for which they were going to be bad. I remember very well that we submitted a list to the GES, and that the Director General gave the assurance that disciplinary action was going to be taken against any of the people who were culpable. So I guess that that's exactly what they have done.
Still on the BEC, a troubling statistic on examination malpractice released by the Ghana Education Service shows that the Western and Western North regions recorded the highest rate of examination malpractice for the 2025 BEC. The Education Directorate is therefore challenging itself and stakeholders to reduce the incident of exam malpractice in the region. Abraham Mensah has more in this report.
I wish to remind all supervisors and regional directors of education that all teachers and supervisors who were linked to examination malpractice last year and are being processed for sanctions are banned from the examination centers. They are not expected to have anything to do with the examination. We expect you to follow the directive strictly. Letters have been sent to all regional directors.
And that brings us to the end of the midday news here on QFM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at as3news.com. I am Enyonam Haligah. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.